Hello and welcome to Crypto Weeklies. In this video, we analyze one of the gem zone based crypto on our Efficient Frontier. None of the content financial advice. This is the Efficient Frontier available on cryptoweeklies.com. That's my website. The link is on the bottom of your screen. The Efficient Frontier refers to the under this portfolio builder section under indicators. You would find several indicators, one of which is portfolio builder. This crypto risk analysis terminal looks at all of the major cryptos and analyzes their volatility since 2021 January, alpha, beta, Sortino ratio, and percent drawdown to come up with a efficient frontier where the gem zone is where the annualized reward since 2021 has been greater, that is higher than, I think, roughly speaking 12 to 20% annualized, and the volatility in terms of annualized risk is in this gem zone, that is below 100%. So which cryptos feature in this efficiency zone or the gem zone? Again, these cryptos, again, I'll consider the boundary as well. So these crypto, ETH right now is on the boundary. You can see it sometimes flips into the gem zone, sometimes flips out of the gem zone. But the gem zone, as we know as of today, consists of cryptos such as Bitcoin, BNB, Tron, XRP, Bitcoin Cash, Maker, and Link. Link is also on the boundary. This is again annualized return. Based on the annualized return, Tron has kind of emerged as a standalone standout winner since 2021. You can see the overall return has been 48% annualized. Volatility is 70%, more volatile than Bitcoin, but much higher returns than Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin, for example, has 21.5% return since January 2021. This is annualized return. On annualized volatility is 53%, and the Sortino ratio, which does not punish positive volatility, is at 0.61 or 61%. So today we try to analyze Bitcoin Cash, which has had a decent return compared to Bitcoin and other cryptos, and also holding decently in this bear market. For context, it's currently again at around $465, and over the last 24 hours is the seventh most rallying cryptos. Market cap still under 10 billion, and by market cap based ranking, it has similar tokenomics as Bitcoin, 21 million token supply, out of which 20 million is already in circulation. So 95% of the tokens or coins are already in circulation. By market cap based rankings, including the stable coins, is ranked number 11th, and it has improved its ranking quite a bit. So if you go into the historical snapshot, so today it's March, end of March of 2026. If you roll the clock 1 year before today and go to March 30, 2025, Bitcoin Cash rank was at 2022 at around 22nd, so that it was outside of top 20 cryptos by market cap. Now today it's in number 11 spot. So again, this is last week, but essentially the same story, ranked number 11. If you roll the clock 2 years from today, you would find a similar story where again Bitcoin Cash was at around 14th spot, but still has even over the last 2 years it has improved the ranking by about 3 spots by market cap based ranking. So it kind of matters as this intra crypto based market share is also at a higher level. It makes sense that cryptos which are improving their ranking inside the top 20 as well are garnering significant attention, and also in this efficiency frontier you can see which cryptos, again this is just a risk profile based analysis of these assets. Largely speaking, if the composite score based ranking is either in this green zone or is in this light orange zone over here, these kind of cryptos in the top quartile at least have lower composite risk score ranking. That means risk to return reward is favorable, risk adjusted return are favorable. Bitcoin Cash is at around 0.42 or 42% risk. For context, ETH is at around 50% risk, Bitcoin is at around 38% risk. So not much of a difference between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash with respect to this composite ranking. In terms of market cap weighted gem hunter portfolio, the top 10 recommendation per hour model, this is weighted by market cap size for safety purposes. That means instead of distributing the portfolio in random names, this is market cap heavy based on allocation. So Bitcoin around 42% recommendation, 15% for ETH, BNB at around 10%, Sol at around 7%, Bitcoin Cash about 3.5%. So Bitcoin Cash is part of this mix, and also the junk filter is applied over here for cryptos which have a market cap less than 5 billion but have had a drawdown of about more than 90% are removed to identify if they are still like zombies or are they still relevant in terms of their growth as an asset. So Bitcoin Cash featuring at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th spot over here in terms of the cap heavy allocator, and in a similar story over here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7th spot over here in terms of composite risk ranking as well. So it makes sense to further analyze what the overall composite risk is with respect to our models. Again, the first risk that we saw was based on just the trend, not the trend based model, but the market stability based analysis. If you are looking at accumulation versus distribution zones for these individual cryptos and identify whether Bitcoin Cash is in an accumulation phase in the bear market, it's at the boundary at around 0.29 risk. Anything which is below 0.3 per hour models is in an accumulation zone, but ideally the lower the number over here, the better the risk reward ratio. For context, most of the major cryptos are at this boundary between 0.25 risk and 0.3 risk. Bitcoin Cash also over here in the zone. Again, Sol and Tron are exception. They have escaped the accumulation zone for now, and some other cryptos are having deeper have gone deeper into the accumulation territory, such as ADA and Litecoin at this point, and also Stellar XLM. So not all cryptos or not all models are market cap weighted. This model is not market cap weighted, whereas the other model that we saw, the portfolio builder, was cap weighted. So different models serve different purposes. Coming with the overall identification of where Bitcoin Cash is with respect to this DK model, this is a regression or polynomial regression based non-linear estimation of mathematically derived fair value of Bitcoin Cash since 2017. Mathematically derived fair value per this regression model is $637. Price of Bitcoin Cash right now is at around $435. That's what we saw as of earlier part of in the video, $465. So that means price is at least about close to $200 lower than the fair value. If we apply this one standard deviation residual diminished volatility based filter or another parameter into this equation, whenever the price has been below this green line, which currently this green line is offering significant support in this current drop or sideways moment for Bitcoin Cash. Ideally in the bear market of 2026, accumulating below the green line, let's say in the later half of 2026, would per this model provide a similar setup like it did back in 4 years ago from June 2022 till essentially about June 2023. That 1 year accumulation zone below the green line, historically speaking, has been a decent entry point. And this model is a dynamic model, so it accounts for the price action since 2017 and helps identify the fair value at any given point in time. So what is $450 today might be $500 in the later half of the year 2026, depending on how the price action matures. All of these models are developed by me personally with several years of experience in data science and also machine learning based models, helping identify what's the euphoria scenario for Bitcoin Cash. If let's say there is a major rally in 2027, 2028, the non-euphoria peak for Bitcoin Cash is at around $900, which is currently as extrapolated from the current valuation, if you extrapolate the ceiling out into the future, let's say 2028, 2029, that $1,200 becomes the bull case scenario for Bitcoin Cash. Let's say the bottom is closer to instead of a $400, let's say closer to $300 or so. Let's getting to that panic case for Bitcoin Cash at the bottom, like it by adding the 2 standard deviation residual filter to identify what could be the very bottom of this undervaluation zone from $300 to rally to $1,200. That's essentially a 4x in this in this cycle, if the cycle plays out as the model describes. Coming to an analysis of Bitcoin Cash with respect to time weighted average price model, which is arguably again equally important, if not more important than the regression based estimation. The time weighted average price model for Bitcoin Cash identifies the based on this white line over here, which is every single day trading average price of Bitcoin Cash since 2017, to identify not just the simple moving average price based current price and how it reacts to that price, but where the asset has spent its entirety of its lifetime, using this gravity of time approach rather than looking at one single snapshot. Identification of where the price has been spending most of its time, although Bitcoin Cash has spent more time below the time weighted average price than above this white line. The narrative that accumulating below the time weighted average price is essentially beating the clock by entering at a level where, although time spent is more, the volatility to the upside from that time weighted average price bottom, which from cycle to cycle is kind of at the bottom from the peak, there was a difference of 92% from the time weighted average price at the bottom in 2018. In 2022, that got lowered to about 80%. Now this time around, maybe 60-70% lower than let's say the time weighted average price, which is currently at around $430. Let's say this resolves at $450, a 70% drop from that level. The bottom for Bitcoin Cash for this market cycle with that 70% drop caveat would be at around $135. If let's say there is only a 50% drop from the time weighted average price from 450, the drop could be at 225 or 250 if we try to be more optimistic of Bitcoin Cash bottom. So that's where that green line, the dark green line that we saw, which is currently at around $300, could come into play at the very bottom. Essentially this model, the risk level is at around risk level 1, but there is a significant difference between the price and the time weighted average price at the bottom by just checking that harmonic progression. Now, looking at Bitcoin Cash through the lens of machine learning based price analysis to identify what could theoretically happen for Bitcoin Cash bottom in the next 6 months. If let's say the next 6 months for Bitcoin Cash are typical of a bear market drop, like they were from April 2022 till that July drop, from April to July would be 3 months. The entirety of April, the entirety of May, and the entirety of July almost for that bottom to form. And again, then there was a slightly lower low and kind of like a lower low but closer to a double bottom towards the end of the year. So 3 months of bearishness for Bitcoin Cash per this model. This is a time series forecasting based, seasonal ARMA based forecast using machine learning techniques such as LSTM and confidence levels based bear cases using standard deviations. The 3-month bearish outlook for Bitcoin Cash without a major panic in the market could take the price from, let's say, from April to May to mid-July. The price could settle at around $275 or so. Like if the drop is of a similar magnitude from that Bitcoin Cash had in 2022. So a $250 to $300 Bitcoin Cash could be on cards. Again, not financial advice. For context, in April 2025 itself, in the middle of a bull run, the price of BCH was at around $300. It has held better than most of the cryptos in this downturn, but again, bear market stretch for multiple years, and you can see that there is a propensity of Bitcoin Cash to drop at the very end of the bear market. In 2018, the bottom was at around $90. In 2022, at around $100. So again, expecting a bottom at around $400 would be too outlandish from cycle to cycle. So my prediction for Bitcoin Cash, if let's say this bottom gets stretched out for 3 months, the first target is at around between $250 and $300 for BCH, and then we see how the sideways motion or sideways price action for, let's say, months to quarters for Bitcoin Cash kind of manifests, and then we can take it from there. Again, not financial advice. Overall, if we try to come up with a bear market bottom hypothesis for Bitcoin Cash without too much stress on an individual model, that is an aggregation of all of these individual models, the time weighted average price model, the regression model, the SMA model, says that the base bear case for Bitcoin Cash is at around 50% correction from over here at around $232. The panic scenario and the recession scenario are essentially $10 away from each other, between $175 and $185. So that's the worst case scenario for Bitcoin Cash. The initial bear market accumulation for Bitcoin Cash per these models below $230, which is roughly speaking a 50% correction from here, makes the most amount of sense looking at the historical bear markets, as well as risk-based models to account for the relationship between the price and the time weighted average price and other risk-based factors. The likely scenario, again, you can see how it is calculated using the methodology over here. That's the pessimistic case. The optimistic case, let's say, concluding on a hopeful note, let's say 2026 offers that bear market bottom, and then we rally from there. Eventual bottom, the base peak extrapolated in 2028-2029 time period for Bitcoin Cash is at around $1,400, between $1,400 and $1,900. That range roughly from here is a 3x to 4x, but from the bottom, let's say if the bottom is at around $250, $1,500, which is a midpoint of these both of these scenario, would be roughly speaking 6x from the bottom. With that, I would like to conclude. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please give a like and subscribe, and hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye bye.